Hey guys, it's Ryan Magnosi, and welcome back to Client Crusher Academy. We're going to talk about smart goal setting. We're talking about what impact goal setting can and does have on your life and your business. And this is probably one of those trainings, right? I'm going to admit that probably is one of the least exciting. It's probably one of those trainings that people say, okay, that's cool. Let me just, all right, I'll just pencil down. I'll make 20 grand, a month. That's my goal, and never give it another thought. But I'm going to break that down, and I'm going to pull back the curtain on goal setting. And there are about 50 different ways you could go about goal setting. When I was in pharmaceuticals, we talked about SMART goals. And I'm going to break that down specifically in just a couple of minutes. But the one thing I want to say is this: always start with the end in mind. Again, I've coached hundreds of people, and I always encourage people, whether it's a prospect or it's a current client, or remember it's a coaching student, always start with the end in mind. What do you really want to accomplish? So one of the books that I've read, and I've actually met the author at a speaking event at Backstage a few years back. His name is Simon Sinek. He wrote the book Start With Why. Why do we do what we do is as important as doing the things that we do. And he likened it to Apple, and I'm an Apple user. I got the iPhone and the MacBook Pros and the MacBook whatever. I've got all these things, right? And Apple is different. Now, this absolutely relates to goal setting, so just hang with me while I share this analogy. Simon shares in his book, Start With Why, that Apple decided to do something a little bit different. They didn't set out to just be the best computer company in the world. They didn't set out to say, oh, we want to just make great computers. They wanted to start a revolution, right? They wanted to challenge the status quo. That was the reason why they did what they did. It's not just because they thought computers were cool. That was a means to that challenging the status quo. They wanted to be different. They dared to be different. And their passion is to challenge everything of what is considered norm or normal, right? And part of the reason that they're so successful and have a nearly cult-like following is because they do just that. They decided to make computers differently than anyone else, not for the sake of just being different, but because they believe they could do something better, right? And so what I'm going to challenge you is think about your goals with the end in mind. What do you want to accomplish? And please don't just make it about money. Don't do that. Money is important, but when you've achieved the financial goal, you're left, okay, wanting. Now what? You feel a little empty, a little hollow inside. I remember the first time I set a goal of $50,000 a month and I exceeded that. I made, I think it was 64, 65, something. It was about 65K in that month. And I netted $61,000 in actual profit after my expenses. I thought, wow, okay, cool. I hit my goal. I achieved that, but I feel a little bit hollow, right? I mean, now what? It's because I was focused too much on the money and not enough on why I did what I did. My focus today is it's different. My passion, my part of my mantra, my juice, and the reason that I'm here is to inspire, to encourage, to edify, to exhort other people to be their best, right? And to create a better quality life for themselves. And how do I do that? Well, that's my why, by the way. I read the book, and that's my why. And one of the ways that I accomplish that is through offline consulting and creating my own products here. In particular, creating a product line of my own is particularly satisfying because I'm able to interact with people just like you. And I love to have a passion for people. Especially people who are trying to go through, create the things that I've been able to create. And so I can really help people just like you facilitate a smoother transition from where they are to where they want to be in the shortest period of time by virtue of the fact that I know what my why is and I know how that relates to my goals. Does that make sense? Anyway, let's just keep moving on. Let's talk about not just SMART goals, but being smarter, right? This is kind of cool. So SMART goals are specific. They are measurable. They're attainable. They're relevant, and they're targeted, right? And if you see the graphic here on the screen, the moment I saw it, I said, okay, I got to buy that. It was like $7 for the image, which was very expensive for a little image like that. But I liked it, and I bought it. I spent extra money for that image because it has two other factors in there, ethical and reasonable. And reasonable is it's closely related to realistic, but they are different, and we're going to break that down a little bit. And so here I just added those two on the screen so you could see that. And let's break this down a little bit. So we want to look at setting goals the smart way. Again, you're going to get this in your worksheet, but Obviously, you need to set a date for where you're starting. You also want to set a goal in mind of where you want to accomplish, right? Whatever you want to accomplish. And again, please just don't make it about money. It's got to be all encompassing. You really need to get that book from Simon. It's available in the bookstores, Barnes and Noble. It's like 20 something bucks. It's a great read. And so that will help you understand why you're doing what you're doing, because I can promise you this, right? If you don't heed my advice, you will probably be sorry. When it comes to setting goals and going out to achieve, most people focus on the money, right? Because you need the money or you want the money. And I get that. Trust me. I mean, hey, we're all here. I'm in business to make a profit, but I'm also in business to help people and to change people's lives and to change this world one person at a time. I mean, that's, by my influence. That's why I do what I do. And so that really satisfies me. You need to look inside and go, hey, what are the things that satisfy you? Start by, writing a sentence or two. And be specific. And I highlighted in bold, right? The S. So that's S for SMART, is specific. What are you going to accomplish with your goal? How are you going to measure the progress of your goal? I call that accountability. It's also measurability. And is your goal attainable? You have to be real. Do I have the resources? Do I have the money? Do I have the time? Do I have the support to be able to achieve the goal? Is that attainable? How and why is this, oops, I got my numbers wrong a little bit, but you'll forgive me, right? So how and why is this goal important to you? Is it relevant? Again, why do you do what you do? If it's just for a buck, you will be disappointed, okay? Especially when you make the buck, and it's worse if you don't. Oh, that's horrible. If you just set out a goal just to make money and you don't make it, especially when you want to make it, you just leaves you frustrated, right? So that's relevant. When is your goal going to be completed? That's T. For time focused. And this is crucial, are your goals in line with your purpose? And then how realistic is your goal relative to the relevance of your goal? It's not that it's just relevant or that it's just attainable, but don't go pie in the sky. I want $10 million this year. Because if your skill set isn't there, I got news for you. It ain't going to happen. Okay? Ask me how I know. I've so been there. So you want to make sure that your goals are not only attainable, but they're also a little bit reasonable to you. I want you to set your goals a little higher than what you think are possible for you, as I do for myself, because that's going to push you and propel you. Okay? That's really, really important. So here's the other thing I really want to leave off with. Plan on obstacles. If you are not getting out of your comfort zone, if you are not feeling frustrated at times and learning some new things and being challenged, you're not challenged. Those aren't real goals. Okay. You need to grow. That's the whole point of this, is you want to grow, not just your income, but you want to grow as a person, as an entrepreneur, and you want to grow your income at the same time. That's not going to happen unless you are challenging yourself. Again, ask me how I know, right? Creating this entire Client Crusher Academy was a unique experience for me. And doing it this way is something that I've never done quite like this. So I had to learn some new software. I had to learn some new things. I had to get pretty uncomfortable with some new technologies. And you know what? That's a good indication I'm in the right place at the right time, because if I'm not uncomfortable, like, I'm just going to chill back, everything's good. Are you really growing? I would actually say that you're going backwards. And if you're not pushing yourself, then you're not really going to make the money that you want to make. And, I could go off on a tangent, but the one thing I'll leave off with this: there are no failures, only learning experiences. Don't ever forget that. I guarantee that will help you. So here's my challenge to you, right? I always like to give you an action step. Is download the SMART goal worksheet and fill it out right now, right? Unless there's something urgent, just shut everything off, take 5 minutes, seriously, and go through that and write it out like old school with a pen and paper. You could put it on your computer if you want, but I'm so digitized sometimes, seriously. I just want notes, like real paper notes. That's what I did for, some of these trainings. I'm just going to do it old school. I'm going to write out with a real pencil and paper, right? And get some smudges on it about some of the things that I want to accomplish, right? I set goals for these trainings as well. And that's what I'm going to encourage you to do. So go do that, take some action, and then make a commitment to yourself before you jump into more of the trainings. You get this squared away. You get it settled, because it's really like building a house. You're going to build a foundation, right, with these first trainings and with your goals. And when you understand why you do what you do, you're going to be much more prepared to be able to accomplish the things that you want to do. Does that make sense? I hope so. We'll talk soon.